big time.
Yeah. No,
I would have just thought at first glance that you've been in this game a long, long time.
All right, brother. Well, I think we all been in this game a long time, right?
That's true, isn't it?
It doesn't matter, you know, if we would talk about metaphysics or not, because we're all connected to the source, right? So yeah,
we're live on Facebook now.
We're live on Facebook now. Okay, let me share out to a few places here. If I can see.
I'm going to do the same. I'm going to share through the group.
I would have just thought at first glance. That's awesome, man. I'll share to my timeline here.
Yeah, I'm going to do first go in there and check it. It sounds like it's all right.
Thanks so much for having me on, brother. I look forward to this.
The honor's all mine, man. I know I have this habit of like reaching out to people and let's do something, and then I don't know, I can't always field all the messages and get back to them, but I saw you on a couple of days ago, and I'm like, I gotta hit them up again.
You got a lot of people coming through. I noticed. I love your shows, man. I love watching this show. I love being a part of this show, man, because you guys are so humble and so like awesome, man. Just the stuff you guys are talking about, you know, helping people connect back to who they really are, and you know, we need more of this, right? We're evolving. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's interesting what's happening out there right now. As I'm observing, we can talk about this. I want to see what your take is on it as well. We got 34 people in the house. If these shows resonate with you, please share. Hello, Kelly Bird, Soraya Williams, Kat, what's going on? Sion Davis, Desley Lineker, our beautiful sister down here. Who else we got here? Paula Whitmarsh, good to see you from across the pond. Michelle Good. Let's see, Susan Curtis, Maria Iverson from Sweden, Julie Devereaux, my sister that came to visit, her and Poppy came to visit me, Willow, April Crawley, Cleo Ferraro, Barbara Taylor, Tasha Webb, Brittany Conover. See some new names. Must be friends of John's. Brittany, let's see, Lana Bradshaw and Paul Battle, Shar Runquist, and Alana Hartman. 45 and counting. Yeah, I see some new faces. My name's Todd Medina. I represent the Soulogy.One network. This is our primary show. We're moving on almost 1,000 shows with what we call Soul Speaks 5D. It's a conversation. So it's not really an interview. It's just a conversation. Two people get to know each other in front of all of our brothers and sisters. So today we're really honored, really wanted to collaborate with Jon for a long time. And I have a lot of respect, a tremendous amount of respect for what he does, because it's not easy to get out there and put it out there every single day. And a couple of things, you know, jump out at me. I went to his page yesterday. I landed on his page. I don't know what happened. And I saw a meme that you did, and it said, everybody's a medium and a psychic.
That's right.
And,
well, you know,
go ahead.
I'll tell you something about that. You know, mediumship to me is the same as awakening. So as we awaken the mind, as we fine tune that connection to the divine, that inner voice that you know is who we really are. You know, that dialogue that we're having with ourselves, the dialogue, that inner dialogue, you know, in mediumship, that's the same voice we use in mediumship. So when you hear that dialogue that's happening within your mind, your intuition, your feelings, whatever's going on, you're connecting. That's the same as connecting to spirit, you know? And I think it's been, for a lot of people, they're trying to understand this thing. They're trying to get their head around it. Like, I don't see spirit. It's not necessarily about seeing spirit. It's about really being aware and building a personal relationship with your soul and connecting back to your heart space. And that'll develop your mediumship, you know? So I feel like everybody everybody's looking for some kind of answers, or like, well, I don't see my grandmother, my grandfather. Just know that they're one thought away. As soon as you have, you know, any thought about spirit at all, you're connecting into their energy. Every thought is energy, you know? So I talk a lot about that in my classes to help people understand that there's no awakening, and awareness is the same thing as mediumship. That's all a mediumship really is, you know? But it's amazing, man. It's amazing at how real this stuff really is. and how connected we are to one another, how connected we are to the divine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't get to sit down and listen to too many full shows. You know, I don't even watch my shows.
I don't watch my shows either, man.
Right.
After they're done,
It's
brother.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Push the button. Yeah. But I do jump in. I jump in because, you know, that's part of this awakening and awareness is we're able to pick up the frequency very quickly because we're taking that information in with higher sensory perceptions and all that. And one thing I love about what I've tapped into when I've jumped on your shows is that your message is very much about self-empowerment. And I think that's great because that's what it's all about. It's all about. We're moving out of this old paradigm of codependency, emotional codependency, which goes so deep, into co-creation.
That's right.
Yeah. And now you were talking about it before we came on. You were talking about that you kind of woke up like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Which kind of shocked me. But you said there was a pretty good story behind it. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Well, I've been practicing mediumship for about 18 years on and off. But my real when I started really feeling things, I've felt things my whole life, but where I really became aware of this awakening was when I actually had a Kundalini Awakening, where I got to the point where I felt energy. It was so intense I couldn't get out of bed. You know, my chakras, my energy centers were wide open, and I could feel this energy just kind of flowing through my body. I couldn't walk for a long period of time. I'd be walking around and feel like I'm walking on air, basically, like, you know, in bliss, but it was such a powerful energy, such a powerful time in my life because it actually healed me. That helped me heal some of the emotional stuff that was going on within me. And when I opened up to this energy, it was like my heart chakra. It was a very emotional experience at first. I remember it, but I tell you, my vibration went up so high that, you know, whatever was going on, my emotions and things like that just cleared out. And ever since then, I just been so sensitive to feeling. I've been so sensitive, like we all are. We all are very, very, very sensitive. You know, like everybody has sensitivity and feelings and stuff like that. But I opened those channels back up because I closed it down for so long. And to me, that was somewhat of an awakening, you know. So whatever I want to call it, Kundalini or whatever, you know, it doesn't really matter what I call it, but it was something that to experience, I started feeling spirit like I've never felt spirit before. When I talk about feeling spirit, it's not necessarily, I don't see them just like how we see each other. I see them as one energy, and I feel them as one energy. I feel them as a divine, and I see it as an intelligent, you know, divine intelligence, you know what I mean? And I feel like that divine energy, as we coalesce, we merge back with that energy of who we really are, and we flow in that energy, things start to manifest naturally without us trying to have to think about anything, because it really isn't a mind thing. It's just about trusting ourselves and letting go of old modalities and beliefs that we've learned, you know, we come up with from an early age, and letting go of fear, because fear plays such a role in this. You know, as we talk about fear, and people that really fear this, that is the only block. There really isn't any blocks in the chakra and in the energy centers. It's really the block of the mind's the block, right? Yeah. So I started learning about meditation and awareness and how to move and basically do nothing, how to move away from the mind, but allowing the mind to be the way it is. And I come back into this energy, and at first, you know, the energy was like really still and calm, and it was almost like I want to fall asleep. And then out of the sun, what would happen was I come down to the stillness, right? And then the energy would kick up from the stillness, and I'd be like, oh my God. And then it would start to ramp up, and I'd feel this inner bliss, this inner joy, happiness. And I haven't felt that, you know, in 20 years of my life, because I was struggling with things in my life. But it's amazing. The stillness really isn't still. You know, the more still you become with your energy, the more still you become with the mind, the energy, the vibration starts to go up. And then that becomes a challenge on its own, because then it's like you're relearning how to integrate all that energy back into the physical. So learning how to cope with the higher energy.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally love this. This is real-time intel. And this is to me what carries the highest activations. one of us
Yeah.
just talking about what our experience has been like, not as a story, but is coding that actually opens up coding and memories in our brothers and sisters. I love what you said too, because not myself and a few others I've talked to, talking about how what you're describing, it's almost like you go into that theta state and you do get drowsy. A lot of times when I get transmissions, I start to get drowsy, but if I make it through, and if I do get to that point of stillness and shut the mind off, what you're talking about is what happens. And then I find that it sustains itself. Now that's great. And as you're talking about, which I think is kind of funny, that's great if you're by yourself and you're sitting in your room in your house, and maybe you're engaging social media, but you don't have to be so quick on your feet. And then you go out into the real world and you go drive down the road to the supermarket or whatever the case is. And you really, for me, I've got to because I've got all that energy running in me. And like you said, you got to figure out how to reintegrate it, how to function from this level. And it's, kind of got to concentrate on driving and, why I'm at the store, what am I getting? It's
you
fun.
start floating off, man. Like today I'm driving, right? Like a half an hour drive. And I used to get like these energy kicks when I would drive too, for some reason. And I don't know, I can't really explain it, but I'd be on the road and next thing you know, my energy would kick up and I'd be like, oh my God, here we go again, And, but I've gotten to the point now where just kind of, sometimes I'll float off, but really learning how to bring that energy back down into the physical body and be present with the now,
Yeah.
because I feel like it's so easy just to float off into the universe. It's so easy just to drift off. And I love to drift off. Trust me, when I'm at home, right now, especially, I love that. I love that, it feels so good, right? Just to do that, but we have to be present. But it's easy when you're driving, you're like, it's like, just
Right.
kind of drift off, man. So you got to be,
And it's like, sometimes I wonder, I have over the last couple of months, 2 or 3 times I've thought, am I just to take my hands off the wheel? Because it feels that I feel that connected to the vehicle, to everything, that's around me. But again, we still got that human, we pop back into the human. But does it seem like it's fading away, that the periods of time that we're less grounded? I don't know what the right term would be, but more in the old paradigm or in 3D, or
don't even notice it anymore. Like I've come to the place where I used to get a lot of anxiety when the energy was shifting. And it was almost like that merge of the physical, and I was merging with my soul, and it happened so fast that it creates some anxiety in my mind. Because my mind's like, oh my God, what's going on with my body? It's overwhelming. It's like, oh my God, the energy is so intense, right? And now I've adjusted to the point where I've learned to integrate back in the physical world. So learn how to be more part of the physical world. So not so much as seeing myself as consciousness or energy, seeing myself as a part of the world, which can be very difficult for people when they're just living and seeing themselves as consciousness, because we really have to bring the physical back in with us. There has to be a physical, because that's how we stay grounded, right? But I was doing that for like 2 years, and I was like, I couldn't do anything. I just home and like, when I walk in a store, it'd be hard doing that, because I would feel my body just like almost like it's floating while I'm in that, grocery store or something. And it would be like, oh my God, am I going to and just feel kind of lightheaded when I'm in that, that energy.
Yeah.
So it's gotten easier though. It's definitely gotten a lot easier. So I just love it. I love the path. I love the journey. I just love this never ending, this thing we call awakening. It's we're constantly shifting and becoming more aware and learning and it's just so beautiful, man.
Yeah, it really is. I find it really interesting, the energy that you contain, and I'll tell you why. I've been doing these for, I don't know, almost 4 years. And I did a lot of my own stuff, early on in the studio, as many people did. And one of the things I never really was involved in. I had some interaction with mediums and mediumship, even myself included, participating as a transmitter and such. But I never really had much experience with cards or anything like that. And so when I would see like videos, people doing lives, and people would say, "Hey, can you tell me what's wrong with my boyfriend," or whatever these questions might be that they wanted. Uh, I watched it and I never really resonated with it. But when I watch your stuff, it's different. There's a different tone to it. Like I said, it's a tone of
Yeah.
self-empowerment. It's not a tone of disempowerment. It's not the old yogi guru thing. And I find that really interesting because, and I think the proof's in the pudding, because of all the people that do anything even that looks close to like what you do, which they don't, you by far have the biggest community. And I think that's, because of your heart's intention and your alignment with exactly what you're talking about right now.
Well, it's one thing, as a psychic and a medium, which we all are. I mean, that's just a label that, we've given it so that people can understand, what the hell it is, and they can reawaken to who they really are. But when we're diving into people's energy, what is the intention here? Because we are all connected. So what are we doing here? You know what I mean? We have to come from a place within the heart. We can't just be tapping in to, because I tell all my students, this is awareness, so if you're gonna do mediumship, focus on the spirit, focus on things they like to do, focus on talking about positive things. Don't go into someone's energy and bringing them down. Bring them up, because everything's a projection, right? So if I say to someone, and I'm not making it up, I'll usually just focus on something positive coming up, and then I'll pick up on it. But I'll say something, and I'll say it in a way where they start projecting that's the same thing, and then positive things start happening in their life. But if we focus our awareness on what's going wrong in a person's life, that's not being really in tune and understanding mediumship or psychic work. And I feel like I'm not coming from a place of judgment, but for people that are just learning this, sometimes it can be difficult to understand that. And really just coming from a pure place, and we talk about energy and stuff like that. And I feel like that's why psychic and mediumship sometimes has a bad name in some of this, for some people, you know what I mean? Because of some of the stuff that may be said or something, or how we're tapping into each other's energies. But if we have respect for one another, this won't happen.
Well, it's very similar to what many practitioners that have been on this show talk about, where they're doing a one-on-one and they ask for permission to open up, and basically both souls open up to each other, and then the one that's doing the mediumship goes to work, and there's different ways to describe it, but it's a mutual thing, and like you said, very respectful. Somebody just put up a quote, and I think says it another way. Jon Crawley is the new paradigm medium, and absolutely one of the best. It's interesting out there right now. I'm seeing, people talked about the Great Divide for quite some time, like the last maybe 18 months, and how as we got closer and closer and the truth rose higher and higher, there would eventually come down to like two streams of consciousness or two realities or experiences. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be taking hold at a greater, at a greater experience or awareness over these last couple of weeks leading up to Easter. Have you seen anything like that?
Like, I've been seeing, I mean, what you're talking about, like, are you talking about like just seeing a different reality coming into this reality, like this physical world? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm like basically kind of like what you were saying about getting the mind out of the way.
Right.
So a frequency of co-creation, well, a frequency of self-respect and self-honor that just has a simultaneous external parallel in what you attract and that type of thing. But I also see another consciousness out there of where it's still the emotional codependency, the drama, the holding each other up kind of thing. And it seems like that's faded. I
think that was all part of the unconscious mind. You know what I mean? When people talk about energy shifts and how it's affecting their energy, and how it's bringing up old energy and things like that, the only way to let go of that is to be in the flow of the energy, which is the divine's already, you are the divine. You are always connected to the divine. It's not we're always aware of it, right? Because we're thinking about things. We're thinking about what can go wrong, or our mind, or fear, or whatever, ego, or which is part of the consciousness, the human consciousness. The ego has to be a part of it for some, for certain reasons. But I feel like it's just really about doing nothing. It's not really about, visualization. I find some people that work for, visualization techniques to clear the energy and stuff like that. But really, you are the energy. You don't have to visualize anything. You already, divine is you. So all you have to do really is breathe and just get away from this, but allow the mind and just come in and do nothing. And then the energy starts to clear out naturally. But as far as shifts and stuff like that, and what people are, oh my God, because this is Mercury's in retrograde, and that's why we're experiencing that. I'm not saying that stuff ain't real, but I just have a different viewpoint on it. Just from, I think we're always shifting depending on where we're at in our life. Whatever we got going on in our life, we're learning from that experience. We're learning how to let go, and the more we learn how to let go of certain things that come into our awareness, and we let go of things, and we just become more heart-centered, and we become more humble, become more connected to who we really are.
I love what you said about the Mercury retrograde comment and those types of things. We're still playing, for lack of a better word, a game, or this trip, or this mission is a power over, or power given or power taken. I mean, my point is that I agree with what you're saying. I think a lot of these things that are cyclical and synchronistic were like cookie crumb trails home, to get us home. And they kind of get, like, for instance, the moon, it has these phases, and you have these certain, probabilities during that time. But at some point, you get awake and aware and expand enough that it's no different if it's the moon or Mercury in retrograde, or your neighbor who threw, dog poo in your yard, or whatever the case is. It's something external. Does it have power over you or not? And I think we're at a point now where we can start to work with that power. And what you're saying is to work from that place of doing nothing and just being what you are.
It is awareness, and that's the thing, right? So if you're not aware of it, I personally don't follow all that, because if my mind's thinking about that, then definitely something.
I don't either.
You know what I mean? So I'm better just staying, and just meditating, and just connecting back to self, and allowing the flow of the energy, because really, it's such a hard thing to do, but it's such an easy thing to do. You know what I mean? Because we do it every day. And I feel like a lot of people are trying to understand, what does this energy feel like? What is this, this non-physical? A lot of people that are just new to, energy, or just becoming aware of it. But really, it's just that point in time throughout the day where you sit down and your mind just kind of empties out, and you're not really thinking, and it kind of just goes into, you just kind of go into this place of nothing, and you're just sitting there, and you feel so good. You can feel the energy, the purest form of consciousness within yourself. You just feel so good, and you feel the love, and you feel this euphoria. And that's where we want to stay connected. We want to stay connected to what that is.
Yeah.
And then everything else falls into place. So that's, relationship, career, health, or whatever, because it does heal the physical body as well. So it's amazing what the divine does, and how they orchestrate around us, and how much of a part of, once we merge back, things just get better, they don't get worse. So it's beautiful.
Absolutely. I wrote a post a couple of days ago, and it was, I can't stop smiling, and my grin keeps getting bigger and bigger. And that's what you're talking about. I would just, it happened to me yesterday. My wife's coming back in a couple of days, thank the universe. And I got to clean up the house. I've been living like a bachelor a little bit. So, and I worked yesterday, and I went out to this ballpark that I go sit at, and just do what you said. I just turn off the mind, and I sit still, and I connect with the universe, how I do. And I was sitting there going, that voice started with, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you better do this, and you better do that. And I just heard this voice come in with a big smile on its face, which was me, and said, no, I don't got to do anything. I am holding a beautiful, blissful, joyous vibration right now. There's nothing more I can do than that. And that was it, you know. And I spent an hour and a half communing with the universe in the middle of a soccer field and had an incredible dimensional experience. You know, it's just beautiful.
That's beautiful.
But it's new, and you're like poking yourself, going, "Is this really happening?"
Yeah.
especially when there's somebody else involved with it.
Yeah, it's true though. You choose it, right? You know what I mean? Because when you're in that flow, you choose to stay, how long you want to stay in that, you know, that flow of energy, how long you want to hold on to that bliss or that joy or whatever. It's up to you.
Yeah.
But that's the mastership part. And that's what I'm learning how to do, man. It's just never ending. But I feel like the more that I get back into the flow and just allow the energy, it just becomes a beautiful experience, you know?
Do you spend a lot of time? I do, but I'm just curious. Do you spend a lot of time in solitude?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about not interacting on the internet, but I mean
Yeah.
just
I do. Like, I spend a lot of time just identifying with my own energy. You know, I do the psychic work, and I learned, you know, quite a few lessons from that, because they're giving me permission to tap into their energy to find out information or whatever. But I had to learn that once I get, you know, I tap into the spirit, and I give the mediumship reading to come back to myself so I can clear my own energy. We get into certain thought patterns and things like that. You know, even we're not doing mediumship about other people's things or life or whatever they got going on. We start engaging in that. But really, if we just pay attention to our own energy instead of focusing so much on, you know, of engaging in certain things, we actually get a lot more out of life. We get a lot more joy and happiness, you know.
yeah.
And I do that a lot. I spend a lot of time on my own.
Yeah, me too.
I'm at the beach.
Yeah, me too. But
Yeah.
you know, I get a lot of energy coming at me, you know, with the work I do, and
Yeah.
and so what started to happen a few months ago, it was a struggle. We must have been at, or I must have been at some point of transition. How do you let go of this codependent, you know, conditioning we've had, emotional codependency, or we've got to do this. Somebody sent me a message, so I have to answer them back, versus being in the still spot that was making me grin bigger and bigger every moment, you know? So I got through it. As I started going through it, I would read something and I would just say, I don't have to, you know, I've taken it in. I'm not obligated to do anything. I don't need to do anything. Am I gonna, you know, engage this only to re-engage and re-engage and re-engage, or am I going to try to maintain this, this vibration that you're talking about, which so much of the time, and I can be standing next to people, but it's a stillness, even if you're standing around people.
Yeah.
And seems to be a working process, at least for me. It
That's
is.
that's when people talk about, you know, the outside energies affecting them, and they say, okay, so I'm feeling this person's energy. This isn't an outside thing. You know, we can blame, I mean, oh, I feel this way because of this person, or I feel this way because of that. But yeah, when you're more sensitive, yes, you do feel things around you. That's for sure. But really, the mastership of this awareness is being still, like you just said. That was a beautiful thing. Still around people,
Yeah.
you know. And when you're still around the people, then your energy's still, and that keeps you grounded, right? That keeps you clear.
Yeah.
Uh,
I might not be able to talk to them, but I can stand around them. No.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's hard sometimes, man. I get it here too, man. Like I could feel like, you know, sometimes I'll feel like the energy downstairs when I wake up in the morning, and it'll throw me off like completely. And I'll be like, oh my god, or loud noises, or like,
yes, yes. God, that's weird. I had this thing last night, and I went to the baseball park, and I sat in the car, and I'm not gonna lie, I was drinking a beer, just, you know, just chilling out, and I was having this communion form, like I knew I was going to go out on the soccer field. I knew something was going to happen. I knew, you know, I could feel it. It's just my own universe. But and so I did that, and I went out and did all this, and it was incredible for me. I walked back to the truck, and I sat down, rolled down the windows, and I just took it in. My mind wasn't going, oh wow, that just happened. Da, da, da. It wasn't like that. It just was sitting there. And then all of a sudden, I'm in Kauai, which has got 50,000 people on the whole island, and probably 4 fire trucks. And I'm on this back road in this neighborhood, and I'm telling you, 4 fire trucks came screaming down the street that I was on, and I'm sitting in the truck, and I never blinked an eye. I never thought about it. until like the last one went by. And I thought, oh my God, that's like being in the eye of the hurricane on an unconscious level, like it's second nature now. And I thought that all the stuff that just happened, all the noises, that was the big thing that really jumped out. It wasn't the light so much, it was the noise of those sirens, but it didn't even faze me. I was in this place. And then after it happened, it dawned on me, I thought, whoa, that was weird. I mean, I didn't even blink an eye, so I think it's getting easier and easier to stay in that frequency.
Yeah, I'm trying so hard to do that, and like I'm still in the beginning stages of all this, and I'm okay with that too. I'm like, with being in the beginning stages of all this, and I know that like I got a long ways to go, but I'm just so happy, man. I'm so grateful to have this experience in the physical world, to feel joy, just to have that sense of feeling unconditional love again. Even though it's not all the time that I feel it, I still feel it throughout the day. And it's like, oh my God, like what, life without that would just be so, I mean, I go back to how I was 5 years ago, but now I get to feel like I'm just getting more into feeling that.
Yeah.
So I like, even though sometimes I feel things I don't want to feel, it's just so beautiful that I'm able to come back to this place within the heart and I'm able to feel that again,
Yeah. No, I get that. I got some pretty interesting intel. Last night, while I was out there, part of what I got, and I don't know if I can explain this right, but it's what you're saying. And what it was I wasn't in this realm. I was in the collective realms or something, and we were all many people. And basically we were being given, I don't know, like a presentation or something, and saying, okay, you can go to this dimension, you can go to this dimension, you can go to this dimension, and these are the things that you can experience. And you can go to the human dimension. And I was like, the human dimension? It's like, I didn't know what it was. I'm just observing this in that moment, and basically what was explained to me is that when you go into the human dimension, it's like you get to become an actor. And you get to experience all these extremes of the different emotions and all this stuff. And I thought, oh, wow, that sounds like really, that sounds really cool, and I think everybody was like, yeah. And then the final part of it was, they said, the only difference is in the human dimension, there is in all dimensions, except for the human dimension, there is a celebration and a welcoming of what is called death. And in the human dimension, there's a fear of death. And I thought, what was that? But I kind of got it. And I kind of got that what's happened is really, to put it in just a few words, is that we've hit a point, maybe gone past a tipping point, maybe, where the fear of death is in the minority now and diminishing rapidly. And that makes sense to me with an expanded collective awareness.
Yeah, that's what this is all about, man. It's, when we let go of fear of certain things, especially death, you really get into the flow of the energy, right? I still fear it a little bit, man. I'll be honest with you. I know that there's life after death and the energy is eternal, but I'll be honest with you, I struggle with that one a little bit,
I think we all have, I mean, when I was lucky when I started my trip, when I woke up abruptly, that was the number one thing. And I basically asked for death. I didn't try to commit suicide. I just got into some rough situations. But once I got past it, probably for me, that was a big one, but there was a lot of little ones I didn't get past for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of shadows. But I think that's very true. I mean, I know I really haven't had that occur. I haven't had a fear of death in I would say years, but about a month ago, speaking of ascension symptoms, I don't know what happened. I was standing downstairs in my den, and all of a sudden I got hit like with this, like the breath, my breath was gone. My heart was like in full vibratory mode. I sat down on the couch, and this lasted about 15 or 20 seconds. And I thought, what the hell's going on? And I will admit, I did feel my mortality. And I was like, wow, what was that message, man? So it's interesting, but I think we've all expanded a lot, and that's exciting.
Absolutely. I mean, it's for me, it's just like, never ending, man. Like we learn how, once we let go of that fear, everything else falls into place, and it's all about trusting ourselves and trusting the divine, you know. And I'm learning how to do that, man, because like some days I'll be like, oh, I got to do this or that, and then something will show up out of nowhere, and I know like that's the divine.
Yeah.
You know, that's the divine that's orchestrating that. So certain things that show up along our path to help us, they're always working with us, spirit, whatever you want to call it, spirit, divine, however you see that,
The you, me, we, and it. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
The you, me, we, and it. Well,
Yeah.
it's like you said, you can tap in, and everyone's a medium and psychic, and you can tap in with another individual, and not just that. Well, everything's available. It's just it's a double door to the Akashic, or whatever you want to call it. You can pull in whatever you need to pull in or want to pull in if you align.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, man. And for people that are opening up to mediumship, I found mediumship is really good for people because it's not so much about the mediumship as why they're doing it. It's about reconnecting back to the life force energy. It's about reconnecting back to the energy that we're talking about, the divine.
Yeah.
And they do that so naturally when they open up to mediumship. So I think psychic and mediumship is excellent, and I think it's great for people.
Yeah. I can see what you're saying. I know when I woke up, that's how it started with me, is I would start interacting with souls that had disincarnated, that had messages, and vice versa. But I realized what you're saying, there's a tremendous amount of truth to that, even a total truth, because it's what you're doing is you're tapping into that infinite beehive intelligence. And it doesn't matter how you're doing it, because you're doing it, and then you do it again, and you do it again. Then you start to expand, the possibilities and the information.
Yeah, I feel like it's for a lot of people, it helps them open those channels back up. But if we're doing it, for validation purposes, and why are we doing it at all? You know what I mean? Because you'll come to a place, and I think it takes time for people, but where you don't do it for those reasons. I don't do it for those reasons. I can care less anymore if I'm right or wrong. I told Spirit, when I go live to do a reading, a mediumship reading, whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever happens, come into this place. But I don't see myself. I know someone said you're one of the best or whatever, but I see everybody is really being a medium and a psychic. I think we're having this dialogue right now, or our mind's having this dialogue with the source energy, with the divine, the spirit. Right now, as we're talking, maybe you're not aware of it, but it is. You are having that conversation with the universe right now.
Absolutely.
And that's the dialogue of that's who you really are, and that's our minds are always talking.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I love about, and I think for myself, I realized it early on. I was getting stuff, and whatever those faces of the universe were on the other side of the quote unquote veil. But as I would get the information, and then I would, like many of us, was told, post it, put it out, and I realized after a while that what I was putting out, I wasn't embodying. I was getting the information, but back to what you were talking about at the top of the show, what good is the information if you don't pull it in to the human and utilize it, therefore becoming a more expanded human, a divine human. That's what really excites me, is the possibility that we can actually stay in these bodies, overcome death, merge the physical and the non-physical, and almost like to create a new expanded dimension, a unique dimension. After coming through all this density, to me, that's exciting. I think the sky's the limit.
It is beautiful. And yeah, like I think it's beautiful, like being in that, it's just being in that energy flow and just being aware of it. And I've had times where I stay in it for like 2 weeks where I'm not bothered by anything. I don't want to do readings. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit there and just be,
Well, I'm not the only one.
No, I love it, man. I love it. You know what I mean? There's been times where I've just wanted to stay there, and I hope to get back there very soon.
Yeah, I've noticed over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm very unconventional as a light worker, whatever you want to call it, the meditation, or you know, cards or just anything, the watching the planetary movement. God, I forgot what I was going to say. Can't remember what. Oh, I know what it was. I've been seeing for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and they just come in and they go, and they come in and they go. But all these patterns of geometry and numbers, and I'm actually starting to get a little bit of what they're saying. So that's trippy.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that's trippy because I have never seen that before. Not like this. Yeah.
You're having quite the experience then, eh?
Yeah. So now, what do you do when, I'm just curious, you know, these practitioners, I'm not really a practitioner, but my wife is, and there's a lot of them out there. I love to ask them, do the energies still come at you? What do you do when they do?
Nothing.
Nothing.
There's nothing to do, man.
That's right.
It's just when the energies are coming at you, how you react to those energies is everything, you know.
Yeah.
I honestly, I really like to just sit back. Now, it can be difficult when those energies are coming at you because you're like, wow, this is, you know, this could be intense, right? But I feel like it just, the stillness that we were talking about, you know, just the sitting in the stillness, sitting in the power of your own bliss and your own energy brings you back to where you need to be, you know, because you can be anywhere, you know, and the energy can be coming at you and you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like I'll be out in the store and next thing you know, like coming from all directions, you know.
Yeah.
But it's practice, right? And then we get, like you said, Todd, like we get better and better at this. We get better and better at this whole thing. And that's what's, you know, happened to me over the last couple of years. I was so sensitive. I couldn't go anywhere, man. Like I was driving and I could feel other people's energies so close to me. It was such a, like my vibration was so high. You know what I mean? It was ridiculous. I would sit near water and my vibration, I'm like, well, everybody tells me this is how I'm supposed to get grounded. My energy would go up when I would go out in nature, you know?
Yeah.
So I got to the point where I had to step back a little bit, come back to the physical, because the non-physical energy just became just such an intense experience. It was a beautiful experience, but it was just too overwhelming for me to sustain that at that point in my life. So I had to come back and really start focusing more on physical. Now I'm actually at a point now where I feel like I want to focus more on non-physical. I want to come back into that stillness again. I've been really focusing on going down to the water and focusing on the heart center and just breathing. And when I feel it, I'm like, oh my God, this feels so good. Oh my God, it's such a beautiful feeling, right? When you feel that energy.
Yeah.
And the more I feel it, I'm just trying to get to the point where I can feel it all the time, you know?
Yeah.
And,
and it's a little strange getting used to, because those judgments, those self-deprecation, the self-judging, the chatter, the questions, you know, they come in and they go, and they come in and they go. I mean, I know, like March was a really intense month for a lot of people. And I did what you've been saying the whole time since the beginning of the show. Most of March, I did my shows. I laid on the couch and I ate. And I didn't eat very healthy. And I didn't cook. I didn't want to cook. I didn't want to wash clothes. I didn't want to clean up anything. I just got my energy together, did my shows, dealt with my stuff, and sat in that stillness. And most all of the time, I was in bliss and joy. But I was eating a hamburger, you know, I was eating chips. I was just taking care of me. But it kind of taught me something. It taught me that it doesn't matter what it looks like to anyone else. It just matters what it feels like to me. And I told myself, I am not going to do anything that brings me off of this mark if I can help it. You know, and that's what I mean. I might get a message from somebody, and it puts this certain energy on me, and I'll go, okay, wait a minute. I don't have to do anything right now. You know, I'm going to sit here, hold this, and then come back to this later. And I may answer it. I may not answer it. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly it, man. Like I get there too, you know, sometimes, you know, like people, I don't intentionally do that. I'm not saying, but sometimes, you know, I won't want to talk to someone I've been talking to for a little while, maybe change it up a little bit, you know, and maybe start talking to someone I haven't talked to in, I don't know, forever, right?
Yeah.
Just all the time. but yeah, I love it, man. I love doing what I do. I love the mediumship. I love to help people connect back to this energy. And to me, it goes beyond mediumship, and it really helps a lot of people connect back to the soul and build a personal relationship with himself again, which I
Yeah,
think, very healthy. So I think when we talk about mediumship, once people get that, they'll understand it eventually as they develop their mediumship, what it's really about.
yeah, yeah. A couple of people have made comments about the course that you teach or the courses that you teach. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about the courses I teach are like mediumship courses, where we talk about the consciousness, and we talk about the inner dialogue that happens within ourselves as we connect back to spirit, and how spirit communicate. Because spirit communicate obviously differently than how me and Todd are talking right now. So I do classes every Tuesday and Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time on Zoom. We always have a beautiful, beautiful turnout. The energy is always very good and positive. And we focus primarily on positive things in class. We don't talk about negative things and psychic things. We don't focus on anything that's health related or anything. We focus on tapping only positive and mediumship. Because when spirit come in to talk, the spirit want to talk about all kinds of positive things. They want to talk about how funny things that they used to do in the physical world, and things that to remember about them. And that's where I really help my students understand how to get that information so that they can make their mediumship a positive thing and really help people. And it's about helping people and making your client feel good, and knowing that their loved ones, and healing messages, their loved ones are around them. So
yeah, I like that, man. I like that.
Some people said, there was someone that said, this stuff's dangerous. It's not dangerous because spirits love. There's nothing dangerous about it at all. It's beautiful.
You just created a segue for my next question. I was already forming it. I was going to say, I'd love to hear your perception of protection. Are you one that says, you know what, I hold my field? In other words, I am my own protection. There is no need for protection. I am sovereign. I am in, I understand, like what you just said, that spirit is nothing but love. There's nothing out there that can hurt me. Or are you someone who says, we're going to do this. Let's call in the archangels and let's get some protection before we do it. What's your take?
My take on protection itself.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody's different. So like for me, like, I grew up in a Catholic, my family was Catholics. We were raised, to go to church and everything, which is, I still, occasionally I'll go to church with my grandmother. I like the energy in church. I don't mind it, but we're taught, that there's good and bad, so we're taught that, that we need to do certain things and pray and stuff like that. So I came from that background, but through my expansion and my awareness and the awakening of my minds, the awakening of myself, I start to realize that, yes, the divine is really, it's different. And I'm not trying to say not, for people, I don't tell mediums in my class not to protect themselves. I don't do that. But really when it comes to protection, I feel like a lot of this, when we talk about good and bad, is created from the physical mind. So I feel like it's a lot of fear-based. So that kind of plays in the role of our ego a little bit, right? So I've been, talking to people about that, but it's good to have, I like to call in the Archangel Michael and Archangel Raphael for healing energy. But, you don't, at the end of the day, you're always protected, and it's just the mind. Once you learn how to move away from the mind, then you'll realize that as far as like good and bad spirits and stuff like that, there really isn't.
It's what you make it. It's just, it'll be as scary as you make it, or it'll be as free and.
Well, it could be whatever you want it to be. Like I have people come to me all the time and they say, I got this chasing me, I got this around me, and I'm like, well, what does this look like to you? Because I'll sit down with them and I'll be like, okay, so you have a lower vibrational energy around you, but is this coming from your consciousness? Is it coming from your awareness? Because if you're feeling a certain way and you're clearing out certain things within your physical, if you're clearing out some things in your physical, so things like lower vibration energy that hasn't been cleared out, well, the apparition of something that you think is there might be created from that residue that we haven't cleared out. Yeah. So I want people to feel as comfortable with this as all. Now, really, the energy that I'm talking about, the energy of source and divine, we call it spirit in class. Spirit doesn't have, it's the purest form of consciousness. The purest form is the most loving energy that you can connect to. And when you connect back to that, there is no good and bad in it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the physical, the challenge of the physical. So, what I tell we want to create sacred space for ourselves. We want to do things that are healthy for us. Is there someone in our life, that causing something in our life to make us feel a certain way? Is there something going on? Like, do I need to move away from this person? Is this person healthy? Healthy relationships and things like that, because that affects our energy as well, right? So that would be residue. So our intuition, our soul tells us when something's misaligned. So if we feel like, oh my God, like I just really feel uncomfortable today and something doesn't feel right within myself, that's probably because you're not completely aware of something that might be going on in your life. But once you become aware of it and you let go of it, then that energy shifts automatically. It's almost like you've let go of it, and then you come back into this alignment that I'm talking about. But like I said, many different. I'm not saying to do it my way. This is just the way I do it. You know what I mean? If certain people do it another way, that's completely fine, because there is no right or wrong way of doing it. You know what I mean? Like there's no wrong religion, there's no right religion, because we're all one.
That's right.
We're all part of the same energy, and that's what this is about. It's remembering that we are all one, and it's also remembering that we are all brothers and sisters, no matter what we believe in or how far advanced we think along. How far advanced do you think you are along your spiritual journey? It literally doesn't matter at the end of the day, because we're all one.
I agree with you.
There's people living physical.
I think we're all beating at the same vibration. It just doesn't look that way. And
that's what we're doing, right? Because some people are like, I've met people here on the physical plane that don't do meditation, that are feeling that joy. They're not completely aware that it's source energy or divine, but they're not into the metaphysical field, which is completely fine, but there is people out there living in 7D that don't even know they're in 7D. It's amazing how this works, and like we're all equal. So when I tell, we talk about psychics and mediums, I had a little bit of a problem with that, calling myself a psychic or a medium, about when I had that awakening, because I didn't want to use any labels, but Spirit told me, we need something to let people, so people understand what you do for work. But really what we are is energy in a physical body, right? We're having a human experience. We have this connection to the spirit. We have this connection to the divine. We don't need labels. We don't need to be called anything.
Yeah.
Because it's not really a gift. It's who we really are.
That's right. That's right. And I think that's one of the things that really strikes me about you too, is because of the power of there's a lot of people out there that have been pulling down, downloads, transmissions, channelings very powerfully, very true for many, many years. And that's a lot. That's a lot, as these energies have changed and we've transitioning and elevating, not to be pigeonholed. It's a challenge not to be pigeonholed into, well, I'm channeling Kuan Yin, or I'm connected to the Arcturians, it's all of it. The labels create a limitation. And like you said, why are we labeling what we truly are? We're all the same thing,
I mean, when you're connecting, so this is another part of it that is very, I would say, more advanced in mediumship. But when you're connecting to spirit, you're connecting to your higher self. They're not separate. They're not separate from you. That energy, there's no separation in that energy. There's no separation of energy. And that's that's one thing. Now, when spirit come in, they like to talk about things. They like to talk about things they did in the physical. They like to give evidential information, but there's so much more to mediumship. There's so much more of the reason why I feel like this planet has even had, why we're learning mediumship, why we're tapping into this. There's so much more. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see that people are awakening and becoming more connected to their soul and connecting to love. And, but really, I think all this is just not judge and just coming from a place of, like you say, Todd was talking about fear, letting go and trusting ourselves again.
Yeah.
And trusting who we really are, trusting the process, trusting the divine.
Yeah, I go back to the thing you were talking about at the top of the hour, and that all that stuff out there is great, and it is. It's incredible. But you're John and I'm Todd, and I'm only going to be Todd one time, so I want to make the best of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, brother.
Now, how do people get in touch with you for sessions? How do they become part of the courses and anything else that you offer? How do they find you?
They can find me on Facebook. My page is Jon Crawley. You can just message me or send me an email at psychicmediumjohn@gmail.com. I'd love to get in contact with you guys and connect with you more. It's just beautiful, man, just to have this connection. There's not a day where, I've come to this place of I never stopped learning, man. I never stopped developing. And it's like every day I'm just trying to fine tune my connection. I wake up in the morning to fine tune it,
Yeah,
myself,
Yeah, I totally agree. I'd love to collaborate with you. Soulogy'd love to collaborate with you and expand.
I love it, Todd. I love you, man. Like I love the stuff that you guys are talking about, and a lot of this stuff is new to me. So like a lot of stuff that you guys are talking about, I don't really have much of a background in, but I just, I like tuning into your shows and I take whatever I can from every guest that have on, because there's so much knowledge here, right? From the people that are coming on your shows, people that have been doing this a long time, like yourself, that have been on this path for a long time and understand to help people like myself, maybe that are just starting out, that maybe, just becoming aware. It's only been 5 years for me since I became aware of how to feel, in general, even to know the difference between, source and everything, the spirit, to actually feel spirit for the first time. So I'm just so grateful to have connections like you guys, and I'd love to come back on the show, man.
Oh wow, yeah, I'd love to expand a little bit about what you do and and get some more feedback on it. But we'll get to that. I'm glad you're open to it. I enjoyed it. I have so much respect for you. Thank you for being the example, put the example out there, because really at the end of the day, regardless of whatever words we speak, it's just the energy that we carry. And by being that example and staying in that place, we're serving humanity in no greater way than we ever could.
Someone just sent me someone just did something with my energy on this channel, man. It was beautiful. Whoever that is, I'm sending lots of love because it came into my awareness.
Wow.
There's a healer on here or something, and she was a girl that sent me beautiful healing energy.
Wow.
It felt so good. Thank you so much.
I have a feeling I know who that is.
I just felt it come over me. I don't know who it was. I think they're listening to me right now.
Yeah.
But they would have just sent it right now, like 2 seconds ago, and I felt that energy come in. And I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, this is what we do, man. Create that vortex, adding frequencies to an ever expanding vibration. I love you, brother. You
All
take
right,
care.
thank you so much.
I got to get on to the next one. I look forward to the next one. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Todd. I appreciate it so much, brother. All right, you guys have a good night. Thank you so much, guys.
All blessings, man. All blessings.